What's up? We're going to move on to a nice, spooky Halloween story. All right? So, I hope you guys are ready for that because this one's real spooky, not in like the demon possession sense. Sorry, Shiloh. But in the actual, you cannot escape the fate of the evil in your life kind of spooky. So, hope you guys are ready for that. Let me go ahead and pray for y'all and for this lesson. This is the first time I'm actually teaching this myth. I've never taught this myth before, but it's a very famous story. You guys might actually know the name, but this one's pretty wonky. All right, so let me pray for us, and hopefully Brendan finishes his homework really fast, and then we'll go. All right. Jesus, thank you for these students, each and every one of them. I thank you for the ones that serve in the chapel band. I thank you for the skills and the talents and just the intrigue, maybe even just the friend groups that kind of pull people into being able to do that kind of stuff. It might just seem like it fits, but there's a reason why they're there. And they're taking part in producing a way for us to be in your presence on this Thursday and each Thursday. So I'm just grateful to them and the work that they put in, the fact that they get up on stage or that they work behind the scenes. It's just an awesome image of what you do to craft ways for us to see you and hear your voice and worship you. So we thank you for the practicality of it all. We thank you for the involvement, but we also thank you for this class period that we're about to have. I pray that you would just bless our conversation, that you would give me a clear mind to remember the details, bring up any connecting points, and whatever. So I'm just grateful to you that I get to do this in the midst of all my darkness, that I can still somehow get to know you really well through the things that I can't get rid of, or the things that I can't shake or I don't have control over, that those things are gifts. They're not curses, but they're just ways for me to want to look into your face. So we love you and we thank you. In precious name, amen. All right, guys, so who has heard of Oedipus Rex? Anybody heard of Oedipus Rex? Kinda, not really. All right, so Oedipus is going to come in just a second, but let me go ahead and introduce you guys to his mom and dad. All right, so this is, of course, after the Pentheus and Bacchus story that I told you guys about yesterday, but it is a little bit more distant. A lot of the stories that Cadmus, we kind of went through was kind of like one after the other. This is like a couple generations from that. So the kingdom was taken over by Pentheus's brother after he died, and then the family line continued. And the dad here, Laius, was the son of another king named Labdacus. You don't need to know that dude's name, but you do need to know Laius's name. He's going to be a very important figure for this story. And he married a woman named Jocasta, or Jocasta if you want to just call her that. And they were actually like distant relatives. Obviously, that's like a normal thing in the ancient world for second cousins or so to be married. It keeps the royal bloodline pure, all that kind of stuff. And they loved each other very much. Laius was an excellent king. Jocasta was an incredible queen. They actually brought Thebes back to a really awesome position in ancient Greece at the time. But they had one issue. What are kings and queens supposed to do? The very first thing a king and a queen is supposed to be able to do is what? Have a kid. And they were infertile. They could not have a kid. They were barren. And so it kind of started to take a toll on their joy and their ability to rule. So much so that we have Laius traveling all the way from Thebes to Delphi, which is where the oracle of Apollo sits. And you guys know how important that is. And she actually said to him, she said, I don't think you want to know what I have to say. So just catch that theme for a second. I don't think you want to know what I have to say about this. Because they're going to her and they're asking, why have the gods set us up to not have children? Like, that's a super valid question. I don't want to expose too much, but I have a lot of friends who are trying to have kids and they can't. And it is dreadful. Like I like it's so dreadful that like my wife and we had one miscarriage. It was our first pregnancy. We had one miscarriage, and that was really, really heavy. But miscarriages when you're young and haven't been trying to have kids for a long time are really weird. I don't know how to, I know that y'all probably don't talk about miscarriages very often, but like, you don't really know how to compartmentalize it. Some people like register it as just like, oh, well, you know, the baby wasn't healthy. My body just, boop. That's probably a good thing. But then some people like, it's their dream to have kids, you know? And it weighs on them so hard. Like they get like jewelry to remember the children. And it was really hard for me because I've always wanted to have kids, but it's just different for everybody. And now I've had these friends who have had 6 or 7. And after that point, it just becomes dreadful. Their relationship changes, the way they see their job, the way, where they live. Like everything just starts to take a really dark toll. And so he's going to God and he's saying, why? Why is this happening? And the gods say, you don't want to know. And he's like, I guarantee you I want to know. And she says, okay, your kid, I mean, you guys could probably guess. Guess. You guys have had enough stories, legends, myths, folklore to know what this child will do. Come on. It will kill, your child will kill you and take your power. The classic thing, okay? And so, Laius is like, okay, all right, praise God. Like, thank you for like saving us. You were like trying to protect us. Our kid was going to be evil. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will take the next step based on your word. And the next step for them was actually a really sad one because like I said, they loved each other. The next step was for him to exile himself. He left his homeland, like as king, and he let someone else rule in his stead in Thebes so that he would not have a child with Jocasta. They would still be married, but it was like this sort of vow marriage, not like an actual, true, real interrelationship. And if, as you guys can guess, I mean, long distance relationships suck, dude. And after a few years, they broke and they just couldn't do it anymore. They longed for each other. It was a beautiful scene. They loved each other. And he said, I don't care. I'm meant to be with you. That's what I want more than anything. And guess what? Within that year, they got pregnant and had a child. But the distance, all that time, it had been years since the prophecy. And like you guys know, you might have had experiences in your life that seemed life-changing. You like learned something that was just like so overwhelming. Like, obviously, I'm never going to be able to forget about this. I'm going to be thinking about this all the time. But time is such an interesting thing. It chews away at the way you conceive ideas and how those ideas actually stay in your mind. It completely changes. And so these years passed and they kind of just forgot. And then when they held this baby in their arms, it started to come back. And so the love and joy that they had for finally producing their first child faded away. And all of a sudden the fear of what God had said crept back into their mind. And so you can guess what happened. You guys have seen this happen before. The prophecy of the oracle came back into their mind. They saw this baby as a threat. What happened?
They killed it?
They didn't kill it. Remember, guys, killing a baby is wrong. It's always been wrong. It's super sad when babies die. What do you do in the ancient world? It's different. You expose it. I didn't do it. I gave it to God. That's what exposure is. All right? It hadn't been named yet. Babies in the ancient world were named after 8 days. It was called the Dies Lustricus, the day of purification. It was the same for the Hebrews, for the Jews, the Israelites, everyone. Because what happened usually in childbirth? Over 50% of the time in the ancient world, what happened? Somebody died. Either the mom or the baby. Isn't that insane, just for a second? It's awful. Childbirth, when God gave that curse to Eve, and he said, your childbirth will be horrible, he meant it. There's a 50-50 chance you die, or the baby dies, or both of you die. And so they didn't name this baby, and within those 8 days before it was named, they said, we've got to get rid of this baby. So what do they usually do? Do they take the baby out? What do?
Have someone else do it.
They have a buffer person take it out. All right? And guys, I'm about to show you, but this is one of the most common themes in all history. Whether it be mythological, fantasy, historical, whatever. We love these stories at the beginning. Isn't that weird? You got to think about that. Because you might be like, no, we don't. I'm about to show you, yes, you do. And you know so many of these stories where a baby should have died, all right? And yeah, this is the prophecy. Just wanted to see, I totally forgot to, I forgot to put these up there. Laius, son of Labdacus, you desire a child. Well then, you shall have a son now that you've asked. But fate has decreed that you shall lose your life at his hands. This is the will of Zeus, son of Cronos, who heard the curse of Pelops, whom you once robbed of his son. I forgot to tell you this. Shoot! This is what happens when you teach it the first time. He had actually, as a young boy, Laius, this is kind of wild, he was forced to go and stay in the kingdom of Pelops, and we're going to get into the Pelops story later. Pelops' story is crazy. And Pelops was actually a really great king. And he brought him in hospitably, but he, while Laius was there, he raped his son. And so Pelops, that's incredible breaking of hospitality. Incredible breaking of hospitality. That's like Sodom and Gomorrah level breaking of hospitality. Just flipped the other way. And so Pelops cursed him. And that's why this is in his fate. I totally forgot to tell you all that. That's why why he had been barren for the first place. But since he sought after, then the oracle was like, okay, now you will. Now you know, so now you will have a son, and this is your curse. All right, so just like you guys said, they had the baby. They forced someone else to take the baby out and leave it. But what happened? Come on, this is like the third part.
Somebody found it.
What? Either somebody found it and the baby survived, or the person itself was too compassionate, sympathetic to do it. And that's what happened in this one. And the person that they told to do it was a shepherd. And the shepherd could not do it. Marveled at the baby. Loved the baby. Fed it, watered it, actually stayed out on the mountain with the baby for a really long time. So taking the child up to a mountain to let it die, he couldn't do it. What story does that remind you of? Nice. That's one of the ones. And I'm just recognizing another one that I forgot to put up here. Okay, I'm about to take you through a huge list. All right? You guys ready? Snow White is definitely one of them. All right? You guys can't see. All right? Oh, no! It's going to be cut off. That's super fun. King David. Does that have any sort of connection to this? Do y'all think? I don't want to take too much time on this. He was a little boy. He was a threat to Saul's power. Saul tried to kill him for years. All right? We'll leave that. And then even Saul's family took pity and mercy on David and saved David. Okay, let's keep going. Osiris and Horus, that story. Puts him in a river so that he lives. All right. Esther, that one has do not say where you're from as a child kind of thing. Man, this is such a bummer. It's all cut off. Adonis, that you learned before, he was conceived in a way he shouldn't have been. And he was saved by one of the gods. Ishmael. This one is something that's super interesting for right now. Ishmael, in Islamic tradition, the son of Abraham. Remember, he was exposed by Hagar and Abraham. He was banished and exiled. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? And she actually was just going to let him die under a bush in the desert. But then an angel came and saved him. Said he's going to be great. He's a child of God's covenant partner. And then we actually have a story from Chinese mythology. All right? Of course, you guys don't know too much about that. I don't even. But Tarzan also. It's actually how the Tarzan story starts. All right? The parents obviously didn't leave him there, but they died. And he was left there. He was going to die. But then he was saved. Pericles, the story of Pericles, he was like the founder of the Athenian League. The Moses story, obviously. Okay, I'm going to go through these fast. I'm going ready to. All right, Oedipus, obviously, right here. Hercules, y'all heard that one. Romulus and Remus, that story, the Roman founders. Krishna was an abandoned baby, saved in a river. There's Snow White, Harry Potter, Perseus, you guys saw. Another one in Hindu mythology is Karna. Cyrus the Great, the guy I named my son after. Paris, who had a huge role to play in the Trojan War. Sargon, he was one of the first rulers of Mesopotamia, and he was an incredible man. He was abandoned at his birth. The Sleeping Beauty fairy tale. Atalanta, she was said to overtake her father, so her father left her to be killed, but she was saved. King Arthur starts that way. Sigurd in Norse mythology starts that way. Even Zeus himself started that way. He had to be saved from being killed. And even the Buddha story starts that way. So this is a wild thing that some of our most legendary figures have this theme at the beginning of their tale, whether they be historical or biblical or mythological. It seems like they're all blended. All right, it seems like everything has that similarity. All right, so we then now have, let me just go back for a second. We now have Oedipus raised in a land, he's actually taken to Corinth. All right, he's taken to Corinth, which isn't too far away from Athens. It's just kind of a little bit to the southeast or southwest, but he grows up there with this king and queen who are incredibly kind, and they bring him in. The shepherd brings him to him and says, I don't have the means or the money to take care of a kid. Can you please help me take care of this baby? This baby's not meant to die. And they're like, absolutely. We have actually never been able to have kids. So it's like this massive gift to them. All right. And Oedipus is a great young man. He's raised very smart. He's very strong. It seems like there's something pretty amazing about him. And there is. Why is there something pretty amazing about him? Think about Cadmus's family line. What?
He has like some like gods.
Yeah, dude. Cadmus's wife was like basically a god. Harmonia was the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. So like they have divine blood in them. They have like this royal eternal blood in them. So this kid seems a little bit different than the king and queen themselves, and they love him. They just bring him up. They just like rejoice in his majesty, and it's awesome because he's really, really dope. But then one day, there's a party. There's a festival. And a dude at the party in Corinth gets way too drunk. And he just stands up and he's like, I know we're all thinking it. He looks nothing like them. He acts nothing like them. And that idea had never been put into Oedipus's mind before, because he was raised and told that he was their son. But all of a sudden, the seed of doubt gets planted in his mind, and it drives him crazy. And he's around like 18, 20 years old at this point, like getting ready to take the rule of Corinth. Like it's all, his dad is getting old. And he's like totally raised to be the king of Corinth. And now he's realizing that he's not the rightful heir. That's an insane identity shattering shift. And so he does the same thing that his actual dad did. And he goes to the oracle as well. And he pleads with her to explain if this is real or not. And he gets the exact same response. The oracle, and this is such a cool painting of it, because I don't know if you guys can see it super well. But the oracle is y'all know what the oracles were, right? Did I ever tell you all that? Am I a bad teacher? Did I ever tell you what oracles like really were?
They're blind when they see the future.
They don't always have to be blind, but they do have to be a virgin. They only have intimacy with the word of the gods. And they are usually extremely young. And the way that they actually get them to commune with the gods is through drugs. Did I not ever tell you guys that?
There's like volcano like air coming up. It's like
Incense.
yeah.
Yeah, usually mixed with some kind of opiate. Remember I talked about like myrrh and stuff like that? Yeah. Frankincense, all that stuff. It has like actual medicinal effects. And it like brings the spirit of God to the oracle. And they then speak the word of God. So this is a cool painting of it because they're having to like hold her down because she's like freaking out. She like doesn't want to say what's being given to her, which is the voice of the gods. And Oedipus is still begging. Because like think about it. Like, is anybody in here adopted before I say anything? Okay. Imagine being in a family where you think that everybody is related to you, and then you realize that they've all been lying to you, and you all of a sudden are now this completely different segment of life. Like, have y'all seen The Truman Show?
What about the Truman Show?
It's not, like, it's unfortunately so misinterpreted. Like, super misinterpreted. It's kind of like funny, like, haha, Jim Carrey, what a goofy guy. It's a horror movie. The Truman Show is a horror film. That like his entire life, his entire existence has been pretend, and everybody knows, and he never thought to guess it. But once he started to guess it, nothing was ever the same. So that's what's happening to him. So he then says to his mother and father, the adopted ones, he says, I gotta go. I've gotta go. I can't stay here. I can't just live this lie anymore. And they plead with him to stay. Please, we love you. Because they do. And it's a really tragic scene in the book. It's like, it's awful. They have treated him and raised him in true adoption as their own son. But the fact that the blood is different. The blood is not the same. I'm not clean like I thought I was here with you. I'm not actually connected to you in blood. I can't do it. And so he leaves. And he's freaking angry, dude. He feels betrayed. He feels like a liar himself. He's ashamed. It's awful. And then while he's traveling, a dude... Oh, wait. I'm doing such a bad job. This is my first time doing it, so I messed up. When he's at the... I'm so sorry. When he's at the oracle's place. How'd it go? Did you pass?
Yeah, I passed the first part.
Heck yeah, let's go. While he's at the oracle says, trust me, you do not want to know. Like, yes, these are not your parents. I mean, sorry, she doesn't say that. She just says, you do not want to know. Your future, this is point blank what she says. Sorry, I'm doing such a bad job. Your future is to kill your father and marry your mother. Okay? That's your future. Your future is to kill your dad and marry your mom. So he is freaking out. And so he looks at his mom and dad and he's like, oh, this is who it's about. I gotta go. I can't be here anymore. I'm disgusting. Like, I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I'm not who you thought I was. And I don't want anything bad to happen. So I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And so while he's on his way, so angry and ashamed, and he just feels vile, a dude comes up on his chariot and just like bumps him, like just doesn't move over to the side, just like hits him as he turns on this crossroads again, hits him as he turns on this crossroad, and Oedipus just stands there and he starts fuming, and he just takes his spear and he throws it at the dude, and he freaking kills the guy. And he doesn't just kill those guys, he kills some of the servants that were with him. He thinks that he kills them all, but one of them lays there, pretends like he's dead, and then gets up after Oedipus leaves and his fuming is all done, and he runs back home, and Oedipus just like is so angry. And Oedipus goes the other way, the other guys were going that way, Oedipus goes this way. So he's just like, this godlike anger fills him. Just like, who am I? I've got to like, yeah, he can't chill. He has no chill at all. And so he then arrives to a place that has a sphinx sitting outside of it. All right? Y'all know what a sphinx is? Yeah. Is what? Yeah, it's like a woman on the front half. And then they've got wings sometimes, or like the body of a lion, and then the tail is like a serpent. And she's one of the children. The sphinxes are the children of Echidna, Echidna is called the mother of monsters. And yeah, you know it because Percy Jackson. But she gave birth to like all the disgusting monsters that you really hear about. Like the Chimera and Scylla and like all that stuff. So, or maybe not Scylla actually. But yeah, just a bunch of monsters. So this is one of the kids. And do y'all know what's interesting about sphinxes? What do they talk in? Riddles. And if you can't answer the riddles, they kill you. All right? There's actually a sphinx in Harry Potter. If y'all have read the fourth one, there's a sphinx in the labyrinth that he has to go through to get to the Goblet of Fire. And yeah, same kind of thing. So this sphinx has been terrorizing the city-state. Terrorizing the city-state, will not let anybody leave, will not let anybody come through the gate. So it's kind of like holding the city-state under siege. And so Oedipus sees it, and like this anger that he has kind of like fills him, and he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to freaking do it. And so he walks up to the Sphinx and he says, what do you got? Because like he doesn't really have anything to lose right now. He's like kind of just like this masculine ball of like existential dread. And so the Sphinx says, here's my riddle. What has 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, 3 legs at night, and the more legs it has, the slower it is? This is like one of the most common riddles ever because of this story. Can anybody tell me, or I'll kill you? Just kidding, I'm not Sphinx. Does anybody know?
Man.
A person. Very good. They walk on 4 legs when they're a baby, 2 legs when they're in the middle of their life, and 3 legs when they're old. All right? And he gets it really quick, just like Joel, dude. Joel would have lived. All right? Sick. He gets it really fast. And the Sphinx is so ashamed at how fast he gets it that the Sphinx kills itself. Yeah. And the people of this city-state are like, oh my gosh. Like, we've had so many dudes go out there and try and succeed against this. He's just killing all of these dudes. This guy walked up, and within like 2 minutes, the thing killed itself. So they're like, is this like a god to save us? This is amazing. And so they bring him in, and the king is like, oh, I messed up again, dude. Oh, I messed up again. The king had actually shouted out to him, hey, if you can do this, I will let you be king. Like, he's so scared that he's going to die that the king of the city-state was like, if you do this, I will let you be king. And so he does this, and he becomes king, and the queen of that city-state is given to him in marriage. Can anybody guess who this is? Yeah, he is at the gates of Thebes. The king that was ruling at that time was Creon, Laius's brother, because they had just gotten word that Laius had been killed. That was the dude on the chariot. So that was his dad. And on this one trip, right after leaving the prophecy of the oracle, on this one trip, he had killed his dad and gotten his mom's hand in marriage. All right, and he was an incredible king. He was the Sphinx Slayer. Like, this dude is like unbelievable. Nobody had ever defeated somebody like that. All right, and I couldn't find like any cool, like, I imagine the Sphinx is like this scary, like beastly thing, but all like the Renaissance paintings and like old stuff shows them it's like this little kid, just like in like a little Rottweiler body. All right, but anyways, there's a little painting of it, thinking Oedipus. All right, and he actually does a really great job. He's kind of a stud. Thebes as a kingdom starts to rise in affluence and in economy, and their military is strong. He's both the general, commander, political leader. He's even like a priest figure. He's awesome. He's like the whole package. And Jocasta loves him. She loves him a lot. And he loves her a lot. And they actually have a ton of kids. All right? So let's take a second. Let's take a second to look at their family line. All right, we start, of course, with Agenor, the dude that we heard of before, which is wild because I never even told you that he was offspring of another god and Libya, who was already the offspring of another god and Io. So their family line has a lot of, Olympian blood. But this is where our story started. Cadmus, of course, married Harmonia, who's the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. We then have Zeus and Semele having Dionysus. We haven't really gotten into that, but we do know him. Pentheus, of course, as his cousin, the whole thing that we learned about yesterday. Labdacus was another one of the descendants, and then Laius was his son, the king that he just killed. Oedipus is now a part of this story. He doesn't know yet, but he will. He's a part of this whole web. Jocasta is the second cousin kind of thing I told you about. Creon was the brother, uncle kind of guy. And then here are their children, which are also his siblings. So he has 4 children, which are his siblings. This is the most disgusting state we have seen anybody in all the myths we've talked about. There's like no question. He committed patricide, he committed incest, and he has 4 products of that. Here's the part where y'all need to start asking questions, though. He didn't know about it. He didn't know that this would happen. Not like this. He knew about it, but he didn't know about it. This is like such a confusing story, and it's so awful. At every step of the turn, even while people are trying to do good things. Think about Laius going away from his wife, loving his wife. Think about Oedipus trying to protect his parents back home. He leaves them, abandons himself, exiles himself, complete loss of identity for the sake of the people that he once loved, trying to find out something new. And every step of the way, he just does something more wrong and more wrong and more wrong. Even as he's doing what he feels is a great job. The darkness just gets deeper and wider. Ooh. So then, we now have a lot of stuff that's about to go down. Let's see if I can do it in 6 minutes. That would be something. I don't know if I could do it in 6 minutes, dude. No, I mean... All right. I'm going to stop. We're going to pick up tomorrow. How's that sound? Is that Gucci? We got 5 minutes. I just don't want to rush it. This is just such a... The portion of this story is like... Everything becomes laid bare. Everything becomes laid bare. Which is everyone's horror. It's everybody's worst fear. Is that everything wrong that you've ever done becomes known. Not only that, but every wrong that you've ever done that you didn't even know you did becomes known. In front of everybody. And then the punishments and the repercussions, like it's all coming. It's dreadful and revelatory. And it sucks. So we'll do that tomorrow. November 1st, bring in the month. All right. Sorry, Oedipus. You tried your best, buddy. All right. I'll stop it now.